Hey, welcome back to the podcast. Today we're going to talk about letting go, and I'm going to share my wild ride of the universe asking me to let go. So, if you're new to the show, I am Beth Manning. I'm a psychic healer. Welcome to the Body Wise podcast. This is where we go beyond the physical body to really explore the emotions, the energy, the belief clearing, increasing your spirituality, what you need to do essentially and align with in order to become the highest version of yourself and really step into everything that you're being asked to be and move into a more fulfilling and purpose-driven life. So thank you for being with me here today. It's 2025, and a big theme of 2025 is letting go. And if the thought of letting go gives you shivers and you're like, maybe I don't want to listen to this one, you are certainly not alone. You're certainly not alone. And there was a lot of letting go that's been happening over the past few years and in 2024. And it's going to be a very big theme of this year, of 2025, of things whittling down in our lives so that we really get to the essence of who we are, of why we're here, of what we're to do. And this letting go can be so uncomfortable for our human. Our soul is like, yes, let's go. This is what we've wanted. And our human is like, whoa, I'm going to just cling to the edge of this cliff for as long as I possibly can because I don't know what's down there or what's on the other side of there. And that's totally natural. And it's totally to be expected from our human. So this is why we're also starting to really start to dance with our soul more and coming into harmony with our soul, because our soul knows the path, it knows the way through, even though our human is like, are you sure? I don't know about that. Let's just wait here a little bit longer before we make a decision. So I really want to dive into letting go. And so much of letting go, and so really when I say letting go, what does that mean? Well, it's when things start to, the way that we're going to talk about it today, is that when things in your life start to be taken away, when your life starts to be whittled down, when it feels like, God, I'm just losing everything, or wow, when I look back from this year, to last year, my life is completely different. Things have just rearranged and shifted so much. So that's the way that I want to define letting go for the purpose of what we're going to talk about today. And it's also understanding that what leaves your life isn't a punishment. It isn't because you did something wrong or, that the universe is punishing you for your action or your lack of action or anything like that. It's really like clearing out a closet or clearing out a cluttered space where the universe is saying, I see so much potential in you for more, to hold more, to be more, to do more. But there's all this clutter in the way. I want to deliver you all the things that you're wanting, the things that you're asking for, or at least the things that your soul is aligned with for asking for. We'll kind of get to this in a moment when I share my story. But it's really clearing that clutter so that you can hold something bigger, be something bigger, really step into what is most aligned for you on a soul level. So we're really talking for a minute about that soul level of alignment. And this will make a lot more sense when I start sharing my story with you. But a lot of times, what we ask for in life and what we think we desire can be very human and ego-led. So we might think that we want the biggest house or the best vacation, or even like the classic life of 2.5 kids and, whatever all of that stuff looks like. And your soul might be wanting something completely different. And we're in a very soul-led time right now where it's so important to start to distinguish between what your soul wants and what your human wants. So it's very important when you start to have these desires and make these lists for this year of what you want to call in, what you want to step into. It's so important to make sure that you're not doing it from a place of ego. So ego can feel like fear. I'm doing this to make sure that I'm safe, to make sure that I have that retirement account, that I have, my safety, my security, my support, like all those things that we really crave at that human level is not necessarily what our soul most desires. So I want to take you guys back to 2022. And so in 2022, I was living in a townhouse in a suburb of Philadelphia. And I really felt like I was building my dream life. I love nature and I loved outdoors and things like that. But I also thought that, that the safety and the security for me came with having the nice house and, having the big jobs and the nice cars. And it was like starting to kind of go into that world of, okay, I'm almost 40. This is what I need to be doing. This is what my life needs to be looking like. And I would write my manifesting lists and, the things that I wanted and the vacations I wanted to take. And, it was a lot of material items and I wasn't listening to my soul at the time. I was actually still very much living in fear of things because I was still processing things. I was still healing things. And a lot of times when we are still being led by our past and by our traumas, there can be we are driven to want to survive and feel safe and be taken care of, right? We have certain desires that are traumas or just our past, our beliefs, our what we needed as a child, but didn't necessarily receive, we can still be looking for as we're moving through life. And that can really determine what you desire or what you think you desire, right? So I was still processing a lot of that stuff, which I've since shifted a lot of it, right? But it takes time. We work through these things slowly. So in 2022, that was my reality. And I was wanting, to buy a nice house and the houses were so expensive there, crazy expensive. But it's like, that was what I thought that I needed to do. So I really had those intentions. It was like, gritting my teeth and this is what I want. And I ended up going to Sedona, Arizona with a group of psychics that I was in a mastermind with at the time. And I was in a crystal store. And I had been thinking about buying a moldavite for a little while. It was like a lot of people were working with moldavite. And I was starting to get interested. We can talk more about moldavite another time, but essentially, I'll show you my moldavite. Boom. It's a very, very high frequency, powerful crystal that essentially rearranges your life and rearranges your life in a way where it rearranges it for the greatest good. So that means it will work with, what your more soul desires are than human desires. So I was in the crystal shop and I just knew at that moment that, okay, I think I want to start working with this Moldavite in order to bring all those desires into my life faster. Let's do it. So I bought the Moldavite. I started wearing the Moldavite. And I just set this intention too that, okay, like this is, what needs to be what needs to be taken away in my life in order for me to step into my purpose bigger, for, my soul to lead. I wanted, to really align with my greatest good and really feel like that was what was leading my life. And I expected, my human expected for this time period, like we won't blame this all on the Moldavite because the universal energy was shifting to start to rapidly in this period of letting go. It's been kind of ramping up as we've been going since then. So it was kind of the combination of two things at the same time. But essentially what ended up happening was I didn't end up buying a big house in the suburbs. What happened was that slowly things started not working out for me where I was living. Our townhouse was being sold. I had a family member who got a very bad diagnosis. Suddenly, like, things from COVID financially were starting to have kind of ripple effects on the businesses that my husband and I had. And it was just a lot of things at the same time that were just slowly stripping back our income, our housing, things that we had really wanted. It looked like they weren't going to happen, right? So it was this period of panic as things kept getting stripped away in my life, like more and more and more. Each month it was like, and now this, and now this. And this was a period of so much learning for me as things were being stripped away, because my human just wanted to like crawl under the covers and never come out again. Because there's also, I think when things don't work out in our life, there's an amount of shame too. Because, right, we tell people like, this is what I want. This is what I desire to create. I'm going to have this, I'm going to have that. And sometimes with spirituality too, we can get really on the manifesting train. And it's like, okay, if I'm a good spiritual person, I'm manifesting this and I'm manifesting that. And oh, this just came so easy. And I called this into my life. And I was having the exact opposite happen. Like I was losing people in my life. I was losing like the very house that I was living in. And I didn't have another place to move to. It was like everything, was starting to pile up, and it was like it felt like there was this brick wall that we were just getting closer and closer and closer to. And I had a sick family member and was driving back and forth because she was in the hospital and, trying to find a place to live. And meanwhile, like more and more and more is just not working out. And here's a little tip also for letting go that I realized is that very often when you have an idea of what you want and you're not getting it, the thing is, if you keep pushing into it, right? Like I kept looking at houses, even though I knew there was something inside me that said, you're not going to find a house here. You're not going to find, like, this isn't going to work. Like I knew on some level that it wasn't going to work. But my husband wanted to look. The real estate agent kept finding places. So we kept visiting places, and it just felt worse and worse and worse. And the places got worse and worse and worse. And it just wasn't working out. So the thing is, when we're in this period where we're being asked to let go and surrender and let things fall away, the more that you push, the more that you try to hang on, the more that you try to keep things normal, regain control, like take the logical way, the more they likely aren't going to work. The more it's going to feel like intense struggle. So that's a sign that you're not letting go, or that you're not surrendering to the process. So this was all leading up to, trying to get my dates right, May of 2023. That was when we had to be out of our house. That was when it was being sold. We had no plan. We had nothing. So that was the point where, like, we had sick family member, no house, like everything was just starting to kind of close the door on us where we were living, literally. And we ended up moving back to upstate New York, back to near where I was born, where I was from, and being closer to family. And, you know, it was so crazy because it was like this extreme roller coaster of unknowns. And then when the end of May came, it was like this clarity of the universe was like, you know, we've cleared this space, move here, do this. Here's a storage unit. You know, here's what you're going to do. Here's how it's all going to work out. And that was the point in which everything started to be easy. And like literally in the course of 2 weeks, everything was easy. Our real estate agent was like, you are never going to find a moving company over Memorial Day weekend. Like, you don't even call. It's not worth it. Like, you're not going to find anything. We not only got a moving company that day, but they were a fantastic moving company. We found a storage unit for some of our extra stuff. We ended up moving, and it was like suddenly that stress just dropped. And this is what alignment is. This is what alignment is. It's not pushing into the human, because about 3 months, I think, before May, a psychic told me, like, I see you moving closer to your family back to upstate New York. And I was like, that's just not possible. That's not going to happen. That's not work-wise. That's not possible. You know, this isn't possible. It's just like my logical mind saw there was no way that could possibly work out. No way. But this is the key to surrender. This is the key to letting go, is that our human brain is so limited. We are so limited by our past experiences, by the way we think things should work, by how people have said that things work out. But when we trust the surrender, when we trust the flow, when we trust the letting go, that's when the universe takes all these pieces and it knows the puzzle. It knows how everything fits together. And we waste so much time as humans trying to, quote unquote, figure it out when we don't need to. We really need to relax and to kind of go with the flow. And I'll talk a little bit about a couple of ways to do that. But so long story short, I am back in upstate New York, and I could feel within a month that it was 100% the right decision for me. 100%. Because there is no piece of suburbia or the big house and all the kids and the fancy cars and striving for more and more and more inside of me. That is not in my heart, in my soul. That is not me. Like, I grew up walking through the woods and getting dirty and playing outside all day. And all that other stuff was not me. It was not me. And my soul is so happy here. My soul is so happy because every day I get to be out in nature and I get to reconnect to a beautiful community. I get to eat lots of local food and meet lots of local artists and spiritual people and have a beautiful big lake to swim in all summer long. And that's what lights me up on a soul level. That's what lights me up. And the more that I've reconnected to that and been around family and all the things that my soul was craving, the easier my business has become, the more clients I've attracted, the more programs that flow out of me, the more that I'm able to show up in my true energy every day without having to do so much work of clearing and trying to understand who I am and, sitting and journaling for hours. It's like sometimes we just have to live in that alignment, and then everything else just falls into place so, so beautifully. And we start to really see who we are and what we truly desire. And the thing is, you don't need a Moldavite in order to do it. It's happening for us so much right now. And that's the key word, is for us. It's not happening to us. If you feel like a victim of what's happening to you in your life, it's going to be a lot harder to surrender to this process, because that victim part is your human trying to hang on to what it thinks it needs to be happy. So what do you do when you're being asked to let go? What do you do when the universe is removing things from your life, rearranging things from your life, when things maybe aren't working out the way that you thought that they were supposed to, or your manifestation list is not falling into place the way that you wanted it to? So really, the biggest piece of this is that this is a lesson in trust. This is a lesson in trusting your intuition, trusting your soul, trusting the universe. If you work with guides, if you work with any kind of energy, this is about trust. And that's where our human has a lot of trouble. Our human struggles to trust. But this is such a big lesson in trust. Trusting that we are not always going to have that logical resolution to our issues. Like, we likely won't. The more we dig into this new energy of 2025, the energy is really about letting go, trusting, surrendering, stripping back to get to the essence of who we are. The essence of who you are and why you came here and what your purpose here is. And the more that you're able to literally just get out of the way, to not fight it, to let go, to give in. And giving in and surrendering, that doesn't mean giving up. That doesn't mean like, oh well, whatever, I'm just going to be here and like just let my whole life crumble. No, no. Surrender and like that giving in is like, it's this energy of I can relax and know that the puzzle pieces are falling into place for me, but I don't need to know how, and I don't need to control the timeline. I can let that go and I can trust. It was just like looking back, there was absolutely no way that I ever figured that I'd be here right now. Like, no way. Totally illogical. But does it work out absolutely perfectly? Yes. Yeah, it does. So that's where it's so important to get out of your own way. And the more that you can do your own healing and understand that, okay, I have this tendency to feel unsupported, or like I don't have enough security, or like I need that sure thing because maybe as a kid it was taken away from you and you didn't have a sure thing and you had to, try to control your surroundings in order to have that stability. So it's so important to do the healing work that's being asked of you right now so that you can understand maybe why your human is craving the situations that it is, even if they're really not working out for you or coming to fruition. So trust is a big one. Trust and allowing. And the other big one is this shift from human logic and leading with that versus tapping into your soul. So it's so important to be able to lead with your soul. I've been working on this with so many of my clients lately, helping them to tap into their soul for guidance and direction, because that's the energy that we're being asked to lead with in 2025. And if you're not, we're going to start bumping up against more and more of this resistance, because our human is not meant to be leading us. We're really meant to be soul-led. So starting to tap into your intuition, starting to tap into your energy to really understand what it is on that deeper soul level that you desire, that you align with, that lights you up, what that next step is on your path, is going to be so important for this year. So less pushing, more surrender, and hopefully my example will help to kind of inspire you to trust a bit more, to let go a bit more, to really give way to that imagination, to that void that we create when we're asking for something. We don't need to fill it ourselves. We can let the universe fill it. So I have a few ways to work with me this year, including a new way. So I have my 3-month programs. If you guys are interested in really understanding what these roadblocks are, why you're having trouble surrendering, why it's so hard to let go. These are things that we can work on so we can start to clear those blocks, clear the resistance. You can start to listen to your soul, start to tap into your guides, start to tap into this guidance so that it doesn't feel like things are so heavy or things are so traumatic when they leave your life. You can start to understand the deeper lessons and the deeper meanings to them. And I'll be sharing even more with you as we go, because this process of letting go, it's been continuing, trust me. There's been so much of it. But we let go so we can build something amazing and new and so much more aligned. So I have 3-month programs of working together. But if you just want a taste, if you're not ready for 3 months, but you want a little rudder tap in the right direction, start to get some channel clarity, some healing, start to move past some of your blocks. I am offering 2 sessions for a special price of $7.97. So these are 2 70-minute Zoom sessions with me, really digging into wherever you're feeling stuck, limited. You don't have to necessarily be in pain. Healing is an amazing way to step into the goals, your desires, aligning with your soul, feeling a whole lot less anxious, sleeping better, improving your relationships, taking that next level in your career or your work, calling in more abundance, really anything you can think of. Healing really frees up the space for that to come into your life. So I will post the links for that below. Feel free to reach out. And I would love for you to share this episode with someone, share this podcast, give it a starred review, give it a rating. That helps more and more people benefit from it. And thank you so much for tuning in to the Body Wise podcast. And I will see you next time.